everybody, welcome back to Sugar,
Spice,
and everything nerdy.
And today we're talking about cartoons!
I didn't put my jacket on, so I'm gonna do that now. I feel like awkwardly putting my jacket on right now. All right.
And once again, we have our friend Renee here.
Hi, I'm Renee.
I'm Watkins again.
I'm Michelle.
And I'm Natasha.
All right, so let's jump right in. What are y'all's faves right now? How about that? Let's qualify. What are y'all watching right now that you love?
Yeah.
Well, not watching anything right now because there's nothing showing for this particular show at the moment. But I really like Steven Universe.
Yeah.
And I really like She-Ra.
Oh, sure. She was so good.
Yeah, She-Ra, Princess of Power.
But wait,
have been
real
great.
quick, is Steven Universe over?
Nope, they actually just announced that there are like 1 to 10 new episodes coming soon, which is good because we left off on some pretty tragic, dramatic, triggering stuff.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm caught up because he's older now, right?
Yeah, it's Steven Universe.
Did you see the movie?
Okay, no.
I haven't seen the
So
movie.
it starts right after the movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't even know there was a movie. Where have I been?
Not in Atlanta, because there's it's everywhere.
Or not on my
say,
Instagram
I
at all.
Right.
My Instagram was just nothing but.
Yeah,
right.
so
I've
there
been
is the
seeing this. I
movie.
just didn't know that it was from a movie. I thought it was just the next season had come out.
Oh yeah, the movie is fantastic.
Well, I was really late coming into the fandom because it wasn't until MomoCon where Susan Egan was a guest that I really had any interest. But her talking about it and everyone else telling me how good it was, I gave it a chance right after MomoCon and I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was like, this show is great.
It starts out kind of there's nothing really
took me a
happening, and then
minute.
you're just like, whoa,
Right.
things are happening.
Once they get to where they came from and why they're here and stuff, I was like, oh, okay. And it wasn't just like slice of life, Steven just being adopted by these cool alien chicks.
Yeah.
Once they got past that, I was like, okay, now we in it. Now I'm here for it.
Right.
Yeah, there are
Yeah.
a lot of filler episodes along with all the real plot points, but I think those are fun.
Yeah,
They're fun once
cute.
you once I got to the good stuff and I knew and I could be in the back, I'm like, oh yeah, so now I know the context of why this is interesting.
It's very similar to what I feel like Adventure Time did, because I didn't watch Adventure Time because I was like, this is just a really weird, gross cartoon, and I'm not interested in it at all. And then people were like, I cried. I was like, at what? What are you crying at? But it's really, really deep, and the storytelling is very well done from it, and they do the same thing. I mean, Rebecca Sugar worked on both, and they have animators and storytellers on both, but they surprise, and I think that's what I like about them is this isn't your Scooby-Doo era of we go on an adventure, we solve the mystery, everything's great, and then we move on. You're just like, what about his mom? And then they're like, ending credits. You're like, no.
Right. And it'll be in the beginning you first hear about her and she's so idolized, it's like, wow, his mom is really great and insightful, and later on it's just
This is Steven Universe or Adventure Time?
Steven Universe.
Okay, I was like,
Rose Quartz is
who's
trash.
mom in
Hate her.
Adventure Time?
Rose Quartz.
Everything pink is trash.
Neat segue. Estelle, who plays Garnet, is the singer of the We Bare Bears theme, which is another cartoon that I love. I hold
It's
near.
really
I haven't
cute.
seen any of that.
It's so cute and so funny.
Yeah.
Especially with the little baby bears episode. It's kind of funny I have these right next to each other because they have episodes where they're bear cubs and they use real kids to do the voices. And Baby Grizz is voiced by the same kid that
the same kid that does Kappa?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
What's
cute.
Kappa from? I don't recognize
He's
that.
from Bravest Warriors, which was on, I think, YouTube to start. And then
It was
went
on YouTube.
Verve.
Then went to Verve. It's Frederator, so they do a bunch of different cartoons.
Cool.
But Bravest Warriors is really funny. I think if I had been into Adventure Time, if you're in Adventure Time, you could segue into Bravest Warriors. It's just in space.
Got it.
Yeah, they have
Adventure
a really
Time was hard for
similar.
me.
They have a really similar animation style, and I think some of the same writers. And
That's
I know,
rough.
Yeah.
Adventure Time is just it's not pretty. And so much of the cartoons that we were raised on, cartoon primetime was from artists who did background stuff, and it was graphic design almost. It was beautiful to look at, and then so much of a lot of also. When Adventure Time first came out, I was like, oh, so this is a cartoon for potheads. And I don't feel So I was
Bravest Warriors is totally a cartoon for pots.
It can be.
And I was like, cool. So I was like, well, this is just gonna go right over my head. And a lot of it did, but then once it got into meaty story, and I was like, I should probably go back.
That's
to
much
that.
how that
that's
was too, because when I first started, I was like, what the hell am I watching?
What's
Yeah, I
happening?
thought it was super trippy.
It was very weird.
Ugly. It's legit
It's
ugly
Rainbow
animation.
Bear. What? It's huh?
It's so weird. It's when you first started, it's yeah, this is like trippy and everything.
Right.
And then like later on, I was like, oh my God, I'm crying all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Like you just snuck in all this good story on me.
It's like I didn't sign up for these feelings.
I know, right? I signed up
okay.
for cartoons.
Hardest
Right.
you've cried at a cartoon episode.
Oh,
Like, what really fucked you up?
So Steven Universe.
Yeah.
Okay, actually,
I was
does
just like,
anime
current
count?
cartoons?
Yeah.
Or
Okay, we're gonna start with Steven Universe because
Okay.
it's more Americanized. But
Yeah.
like, I don't know if this is gonna be a spoiler. Maybe.
We'll put a warning.
Okay. But there's got to be context behind it because there's feelings. Anyway,
Okay.
so there's at some point Steven creates a whole island of watermelon Stevens.
Yes.
He has
Oh,
he has
yeah.
spit
Yes.
that he can like if he kisses or whatever something, it gives it life. So there's an episode towards the end where they're on like Steven and them are in the episode is called Escapism. So we'll just
Okay.
start there. If you haven't seen Escapism, don't listen to what I'm gonna say.
Got it.
They go through this whole thing that talks about like there's no dialogue because he's like in the body of one of the watermelons.
Yeah.
And they talk about like it talks about like politics. They don't talk about it. It's just happening. Like he's trying to get a job done. He's trying to get a message. He's trying to get home to get a message to his dad that like they're in trouble.
Right.
And like there's all this politics going back and forth about like like this one clan of watermelon that is like peaceful and this other one that's like more like aggressive and they're like trying to get him to do things. He's like, I just want to build a boat. Like he's getting all frustrated. But as he's going through, like all this extra stuff's happening around him. And some of the watermelon are like, okay, well this guy looks like he's just trying to build a boat. And so they all kind of go and help. And the two leaders are like still fighting and they're just like, we ain't got time to fight. Like this dude's got to build a boat. Like
Right.
they don't care. They don't know what's going to happen. Like he's not told them. They just all stop what they're doing and help him build this boat. And then he goes on this like whole trip as watermelon him. So he's not even him. He's
Right,
like in
he's
a
just
watermelon.
Watermelon Steve.
So this Steven watermelon is like going through this whole journey to like get back to his dad so he can be like, and the bismuth, so he can like,
Right.
we need help or whatever.
Yeah.
And he makes this journey, almost like loses his like, parts of him are like falling off because he's a watermelon, almost gets eaten by a shark.
Right.
And he gets there and he like writes the message out and they're like, oh, because he's like, blah, 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 and they're like, what is that? He writes the message out, they get the message,
Right.
and then he's like, ugh, and then he just dies. The watermelon Steven just dies.
Yeah.
And then like, it's just, and then there's this beautiful song behind it called Escapism that's sung by AJ Michalka and Zach and Connie, I can't remember, Grace. And it's just so beautiful because it's like all these things were working together to help him and he finally gets his message. And I'm thinking kind of like, not to get religious on people, but like he had a message from the creator that he had to get to somebody. The creator is Steven. And he does that and then he just dies and like he didn't ask for that. He didn't ask to be that vessel. He just is there. So yeah, I was like I cried during it. I cried explaining it to two people, including my mom. And I was at work when I was watching it, like on break, and I'm just like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a long-winded thing. You can edit all that out. Just
Oh
say
my
it's
God.
long,
We'll put like a minute marker for people to skip ahead if they haven't seen that episode.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
That was wrong. I'm so sorry. But it's a
No.
beautiful episode, and it's just, I just loved it. So it just spoke really a lot to me in that moment. And, I don't know what background like Rebecca Sugar is or like what, it's not about religion or politics and stuff. It is about that, but it doesn't matter like what you are. It just like really touched me in that space. And like a lot of people I heard were either like, I don't get it, or they also cried.
Anybody else, do you have an episode that you cried a lot at?
Or any cartoon.
Any cartoon.
I probably cry at the end of almost every anime.
That's valid.
Yeah.
I feel like I just cry a lot in general.
Like a cartoon's on.
But like a good song or something, anytime, speaking of My Little Pony is one of my favorites, and like if it's just like a song that like slaps, I'm like, there is one episode, I don't know what it's called, but there's a character called Countess Coloratura, and she has a song called The Music Inside, and it's basically the character's supposed to be like a pony Lady Gaga. And the episode is how like she's got all this glitz and glam and she's kind of like lost herself in this like pop icon, and she used to be friends with Applejack when they were kids, and she's kind of reminded of like why she loves to like sing and write and like why she got into this. And at the end, I'm gonna cry. She like sits at this piano and she just like sings this song, and it's
Wait,
like a legit
ponies
fucking
play
song.
She
piano?
plays
Yes.
with hooves?
With hooves, I know.
Is she like knuckling it? Like,
No, but it's like, and the piano part is stunning, and you're like, I don't know what you're doing, but like, it's great. And she must be playing with her mane or something, because I'm like, I know you only have two hooves, but I wept. And I cry like in every episode, because, friendship is magic.
It
but
is.
It is.
It really is.
but that song, that episode in particular really fucked
I
me up.
remember Voltron, the end of Voltron.
throwing things.
I haven't even seen
haven't
it,
seen
and
it.
I know that it's.
I was
yeah.
crushed.
Yeah.
I was crushed.
I definitely was crying, and I was like trying to like text someone because they were like, I also just watched it, and I was just like, it's okay, and like tears on the pillow, just like.
And I was like late on board. So, like people were like, "Oh man, that's final season," because I think I came in like, right before the final season happened, and I was just like, when I got there, I was like, I wasn't ready.
Yeah,
It was
no
like,
one
I know
was
I'm-
ready.
I know.
No one. It should never have happened the way that it
But
did.
people didn't warn me enough. I felt like because I was crushed.
Yeah, that was
I'm
pretty
ready.
ridiculous.
I want to do that.
You want to be crushed?
Yeah.
Oh,
I just like feeling things, especially, and because cartoons in general, I like this episode a lot in general because I don't watch a lot of like live action TV, like dramas or political shows or anything, unless it's like fandom related, like Arrowverse TV or whatever. So cartoons are where most of what I watch for the reason of like, if somehow they feel more genuine a lot of times. Like they tell like such human stories, even though it's done through animation. I feel like a lot of the stories that they tell are much more relatable and much more legit than like the fake facade of what like society deems entertainment that like live action is.
Right.
Yeah. Does that make sense? That was a really long sentence.
No, we're so used to seeing live action portray life.
It's like
And so-
melodrama.
yeah.
It's like not really legit.
But now that we're seeing animation do it, it's like there's an extra step that goes into it because they have to portray it not just through voice, but through like the actual actions. And we're not, like I was saying, like we've come a long way, and I think a lot of people still think this, of like the Jetsons or Looney Tunes or things that don't, even like Animaniacs, which is was great for its time and had like, you know, a lot of say in current culture.
Yeah.
So that was like life changing and sort of like industry changing. Now we have things that do show stories that we've previously only been able to see in like in shows.
Right.
But can we talk about how many times Rugrats has made me cry?
What?
Yeah, because
I haven't gone back to so now I can as an adult. I'll probably be
Man,
like,
I haven't seen it in some decades.
So I've seen every episode.
That was my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
So that being my favorite Nicktoon, I was all absorbed in the characters.
Yeah.
And pretty much anything involving like Chucky and his dead mother,
Whoa.
or Tommy and Chucky not being friends anymore,
Or Angelica and her daddy issues.
Angelica and her
I didn't
her
care anything about
parentals.
anything.
Her parental
in-
issues in general.
In general, because both her
Yeah.
parents are too busy for her, so naturally she's going to be the brat of the group.
Right.
weird.
I mean, speaking of
I'm
cartoon
really just
fucked up
here.
cartoons, like that whole Courage the Cowardly Dog, like
that was-
all of that stuff was
Courage
just
Snap.
like
Slap. I like
I
Courage
love
Dog.
Courage though.
it was real good, but like that shit was
Return
fucked
the-
up.
It was scary.
Yeah, there were times where I could not watch that, like
Yeah.
right before
Freaky
going to
Fred
bed as
alone.
a kid.
Oh,
Be
yeah.
like, no.
Return the slap.
Return the slap.
No.
Return the slap.
He was just like all like wavy and stuff.
No.
He was like return the
Come
slap.
on, return slap. I love
Oh,
that.
and it was
nightmarish.
Eustace. Eustace? Is
Eustace,
that
Yes.
Oh, I hated him.
He was
Yeah.
It was terrible.
And
trash.
Muriel.
Oh,
she should just
first.
took
And
that
gone
dog
where?
and-
Where would they have gone? I mean, always get
Anywhere.
away from your abusers, but
Honestly,
like they
anywhere,
literally
'cause they
live
lived
in the middle of nowhere.
So they could
way
go
out in the
anywhere. Just
It was
like,
that, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
she's so
oh,
cute.
so cute.
That fucked me up about that show
hate
in particular
macaroni
is
and
how it
cheese.
was in the middle of nowhere, and I have like a weird complex and like fear of like being like abandoned in like kind of a nothingness. And I was like, the context and the stories of that show were interesting, but anytime they like zoomed out and showed the house and like its
Yeah.
nothingness, I would be like,
The only thing they didn't have was a cornfield.
right,
That's true.
shockingly,
Yeah, I know, because things just happened all of the time
Right.
around
Yeah.
them, with or without a cornfield.
Wasn't
LOL.
that-
Did
and
they
had,
live
that
in Area
weird-
51?
honestly,
You know what? Probably.
I mean, the very
point.
first like episode, like
Fair
the
point.
prequel or
the chickens.
what was
right?
the ducks? The ducks.
Yeah, the ducks.
Well, the ducks are chickens.
I
Were
thought
they
they were
ducks?
chickens.
Maybe it was chickens.
The What a Cartoon Show,
Yeah, and they
right?
laid the eggs and they would like make people
They all
crazy.
had
And
red
they
eyes.
had yeah, it was
Yeah.
chickens. There was ducks
Yeah.
later with like
yeah,
the
the one
accents.
duck. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
the one talking duck.
He was like very British.
Yeah,
or
I did not
something.
know.
I think it was an alien or something.
They're all.
I thought they
aliens.
were
All
too,
aliens.
yeah.
Wait, speaking
It
of
creeped me
aliens,
out.
Invader Zim.
I love
Great,
Invaders.
great.
I never finished that.
Me neither,
one.
but it was good.
But I did like it.
It only had
I
like
bought
one, two
an
seasons?
X
One season? Two
in
seasons?
college, the whole box set, and so yeah, I think it's 2 seasons.
Yeah.
It's short, but man, it was good.
Yeah,
Wait,
the
they're
movie
bringing it
was
back.
really
I
good
was gonna say,
too.
did y'all
I
see
saw
the
the
new episode they were?
No, I haven't.
they
I
made
almost
a
cried
new
in that.
movie. That's what it
I
is.
almost cried during that movie because it was
Really?
like, okay, so that and Rocko's Modern Life.
I was gonna say that.
yeah.
Yes.
My mom did
That one I
not
cried over.
like me watching that.
She didn't mind it either.
She was not down for
bad.
me watching
It was
that.
one
would've
step
let me watch
above
that or
Beavis and
Ren and
Butthead sort of situation.
Yeah,
But
my
like-
mom didn't let me watch that. That or the
Ren-
Beavis Butthead or
Ren
Ren
and
and
Stimpy.
Stimpy.
That was another one I wasn't allowed to
No.
watch.
She
I
didn't
wanna
like.
watch
She was
it.
borderline with two stupid dogs.
It's so
dumb.
I watch all these cartoons, and
No.
I'm like, these are so dumb. I can't believe I watch
Cat dog,
Yes.
the dumbest.
That
Just the science. I was like, even I could have been 2 and I would have been like,
Why?
How?
ooh, what's some other good Disney ones? You said Darkwing Duck a second ago.
love
Darkwing Duck is good.
Good.
There's
That was
someone, the Duck universe, like with
Yeah.
DuckTales and
yeah,
Darkwing
they
Duck.
all like overlap
yeah,
slightly.
and like Gizmo Duck, like all that stuff. It like kind of,
Yeah.
Oh my
it's
god.
a very interesting universe.
I love
they've
that.
built. Yeah.
That and the what's the Tailspin. The other one with
Yeah. Tailspin is interesting. Shere
I was
Khan,
like, they were underrated.
Tiger Daddy.
I love all the music in that. Like,
It's so good.
Yeah.
Such a jam.
Because
All
like-
those old Disney hits were like so good. It's
They're
like,
like,
you
we have
may
to
not have
kill
heard
time.
the song in years. You probably couldn't sing it from memory, but once you hear it, you sing
fucking
along.
know
Oh
it.
yeah.
So all of those are on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, I think so.
They have a whole, if you go in the search section to go like type in something, they have like subgenres of like the Star Wars collection, the Marvel collection, and then there's like animated like Disney Channel TV shows, and then like movies, and they're like subgenred within
Aladdin.
that. It's nice. Yeah, Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid shows.
Yo, Proud
Do they
Family.
have the Lion?
Yeah.
Proud Family.
Yes.
Okay, I have to go back. To that.
I know. I was
that.
like, now we're getting to some good stuff.
I know,
I
right?
I'm wearing my
good.
Hercules thing too. Y'all remember Hercules?
Yes.
The animated one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where he's in like high school.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like during his training with Phil.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
like,
That's
everything
awesome.
between when he first meets him to when he actually becomes.
When he gets daddy.
I remember it was like
When
Icarus,
he
and
gets
then
daddy.
I don't remember the girl's name, but I remember Icarus, and then like some random girl character that I'm sure has some sort of historic
Right.
Greek mythology behind her,
Yeah.
but I don't remember at all. her
I know,
name.
I was like, I don't
I don't
remember.
remember.
That's
Like,
fair.
Yeah.
There's some like iconic moments where shit was made like, obviously if we're going into sitcoms like Friends and Frasier and stuff, but like
But a lot of it
that was all
so
generic.
similar.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
all like
The
generic
same
white people
style.
adult bullshit. But like we had this like sorry, but like the 90s were really like a golden age for cartoons. You had
Right.
so much
Yeah.
variety and stuff, and so much like cool like
And between all the
stylistically.
companies, like,
Yeah.
between Warner Brothers and Disney, and
Yeah, they
Cartoon
were really
Network,
pushed
Nickelodeon.
really hard for.
I mean, I have to go back and watch Animaniacs because I know I watched it, but I'm sure that there's a lot of references that
Right.
I did
Yeah.
not
A lot of adult
get. Yeah,
jokes.
because it's just like,
Sure.
I mean, they referenced Bill Clinton. He was the president of the
Yeah,
time.
they-
So I'm
they
just
got
like,
him, like,
so
playing
now I should
saxophone.
probably go and see what this is
Damn.
talking about. And Prince and like all these like really popular people. So
But so much, I mean, they were created by adults. So, like, of course, the content and the humor is going to be like adult humor, even though it's like they don't realize they're ready. Like, so again, I'm talking about My Little Pony again, but it's like I always joke that My Little Pony is as if people who spend a lot of time on Tumblr grew up and wrote a kids show. Because the way the writing is and the humor is like sharp and witty, and it's like, yes, it's perfect for like a younger audience. But also, there's stuff in there that, as an adult, you're like,
Yeah.
You know,
Go
and,
catch it.
and isn't Lauren, is Lauren Faust still a big
Yeah.
writer on that?
Yeah,
And
well, she was the
did-
creator.
yeah, and she did Dexter's Laboratory, and
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's like it makes sense that she would still be kind of doing that stuff.
absolutely.
like they kind of like it changes through time and like
Yeah.
they're like new things are learning and I'm sure they're like
Yeah.
you see meme culture and give culture and like all these different aspects that they can tie into what they're doing, and I just always feel like cartoons previously like people would just put them on the air like it's a cartoon, kids will watch it I guess, but
Right.
then like they don't pay attention and they're like this is well, it's already there. Like, I mean, it's
Right.
not bad enough that it would just be like, meh.
Yeah,
And
you
so
know-
they're just like, it's animation. Now people are like, okay, let me make sure I watch this because like this, they have like,
Oh yeah, you have to.
you know,
Right.
like, oh, we're introducing things like politics and homosexuality or just LGBTQ in general. Like there are
Right,
things
yeah.
that parents are like, oh, you're just watching a cute thing. And I mean, it is cute and it's important, but
Yeah.
like there's been a lot of discussion about, Voltron or like people seeing like different
Oh, yeah.
representation or accessibility and stuff that parents are like, well, I wasn't really prepared for that. I'm
Right.
like, well, your kid goes to school, like
Did
just
you really
because
have
you're
to?
seeing it in
But
it's
it's
in a
great-
show or a movie,
Yeah.
like now
Yeah.
you're seeing in a cartoon, like it's just not. You can't just expect that it's always going to be
Right.
just flowers
Yeah.
and unicorns and.
I think
ponies,
it is
you
a
know?
really good way for like kids, like not all of them are like ready. Not every kid is ready
Yeah.
for the different cartoons that we've talked about, but like I think it's a good way to like introduce them to different like important subjects.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, friendship, accepting people, like diverse backgrounds, like
Absolutely.
coming from like traumatic situations. Like
Yeah.
it helps. Like I feel like if our generation, it's something that our generation, as I assume we're all millennials, like
Yeah.
we are, like that we really. These are things that we all really care about, so it's great to see it in cartoons. And kids today are like really lucky that they kind of have that as like
and have such
something.
easy access
yeah, and
to
have
it, too.
easy access to it.
Absolutely.
So that's one great thing about like all these shows.
Yeah, I agree.
We
can
talked about
sneak that good
She-Ra
message.
very briefly earlier.
We can
and
talk
I
about it
think
more.
That's a really like perfect
That
kind
was
of
a good
prime
one.
example of a show that's on currently that kind of embodies all the really great stuff that's happening in animation right now, specifically in female representation, but also in like LGBT and like cultural representation. Like one of the main couples, like from the very first episode, is like, oh yeah, that's Spinnerella and Natasha. And even though they're like
Tossnets.
right, like now they have more involvement, but first they were just there. But it was like obviously like, oh no, they're a couple.
Yeah. There's non-binary characters
Right.
in the latest season, and
Absolutely.
that's really, and everybody just knows to refer to them as they. Yeah, I'm like, how do they know that?
Right.
And I
So-
love that because it's like, yeah, teach them early, and then they
Right,
won't be so
right.
confused.
Right.
Absolutely.
And guess what, parents? You don't have to explain it to them.
They'll
just
fucking
know.
get it.
Right.
Kids
They'll
are
get
smart.
it.
Let me give them credit.
Right.
really are.
So yeah, I really love that. But it also does talk about trauma,
Yeah.
and I mean, poor Katra is like the,
Literally abusive past.
and you know, it's hard to find like, I've always liked stories where it's hard to know like who is, you know, who the hero is supposed to be,
Right.
you know, who like the you know, protagonist and the antagonist are supposed to be, but you're like, I feel for this antagonist
Yeah.
because they're also being antagonized on. It's not just like a straight up, you're an evil witch in a castle trying to steal
Right.
like, you know, you feel for
Gargamel.
like, not, yeah, he's just, I feel like maybe there's like a Christmas episode where Gargamel is like redeemed, but other than that, like,
He wants to eat them.
he wants to eat live things. Like they have.
Skeletor, I am not nice.
Have you? Oh my gosh! If you go back, I'm mad Netflix took like the old He-Man episodes off because they're
They're
so
hilarious.
hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
They're so
That
good.
was the Christmas
Skeletor.
episode.
He was like 80, so much 80s shade. Like, yeah, like so
He's
much,
the original sassy gay.
and like
Yeah.
he was so. Oh, his comments.
ready.
He's really demeaning to his people, but like when you hear like some of the way he says,
I've seen like clips on it, and it is
Like,
Yeah.
really
it's
hilarious.
hilarious.
But yeah, those are.
he makes
love
for great
cartoons.
memes.
Once again, thanks for joining us and
Comment.
And subscribe.
And thanks for being here again, Renee.
Thanks so
Yeah,
much. I'm so
there.
glad I was here to
It's
help.
so much fun.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
of course.
Bye.
Bye.